And we're back. This is Tuesday. I wanted to do this yesterday, but it was way too damn windy. So I ended up staying home, and I got the power, I ran some errands, and then I got my buddy's fertilizer spreader cleaned up that I used to top dress corn and took that back to him. And I got my four-wheeler cleaned up because I need to service that for taking a trip here later this month. And some other odds and ends. So long story short, yesterday was kind of a screw off day, take care of some bullshit tasks, and then today we're back to spraying because it's nice and calm. Although I really would have rather sprayed yesterday because yesterday it was about 73 degrees, beautiful, just too windy. Today's not overly hot, it's about 83, 84. But anyway, we're going back down to respray the muck and put on some manganese. So this load is different than my first load. My first load I used Halex and atrazine. This load's getting atrazine, but the main hitter is gonna be Armazon. This right here, this is good shit. I've used this before. This stuff is so potent that it only goes on at 0.75 ounces an acre. That's 3/4 of an ounce an acre. So this 32 ounce bottle right here will spray about 42.5 acres, that little guy right there. Whereas like Roundup, you're spraying 10 gallon in a or you're putting 10 gallon in a 200 gallon tank. So I already got my loads figured up, since this one is kind of smaller quantities because of what I'm spraying. So I got Request, which is my water conditioner, that's going on at 8 ounces an acre. Armazon, 0.75 ounces an acre. Atrazine, 16 ounces an acre. And then Dynamic, which I think Dynamic is yeah, that's a crop oil concentrate adjuvant, which is supposed to help it spread out and enter the leaf, which that should be to help activate the Armazon. So I already figured out both my loads. First load is going to be for a full 20 acre spray, 160 ounces of Request, 15 ounces of Armazon. So yeah, not shit. 15 ounces in a 200 gallon tank. You're down to parts per million on that. 320 ounces of atrazine and 160 ounces of the Dynamic. So, and then the second load is, 32, 3, 64, and 32. So yeah. The problem with the Armazon, if you have a ragweed problem, you want to spray. I had a field that I picked up that had a ragweed problem in it, and this has probably been 3 years ago now. 3 or 4 years ago now. It had a different label name at that point. It was called Impact. And actually I don't, because that's BASF. Impact might have been somebody else's formulation of it. It might not have been a BASF, which is why the name might have been different. But regardless, it was the same chemical, just a different name. The ragweed was probably 3 foot tall-ish by the time I got around to spraying it. Probably not that tall, probably 2 foot, because I was still... It was as tall as the corn. And the corn was still going under the booms. So the booms are at 32 inches off the ground, or 36 inches off the ground. So it's probably about 2 foot tall ragweed. I sprayed it like early afternoon, pretty sure it was like early afternoon one day, and I went by the next day about the same time I sprayed it, or a little after. So basically just figured 24 hours. That ragweed, 2 foot tall ragweed, was laying flat on the ground, deader than shit. Like, that's how potent that stuff is. Problem is, it's expensive. If I remember right, that bottle right there is about $750. So you don't spray that unless you absolutely need it. Luckily, I'm covered because this is all free respray, because the Halex didn't do its job. you kind of expect that on muck. Muck, you can generally, because of the high organic matter content, you generally can't get residuals to work because you have to apply them in such high concentrations to overcome the high organic matter in the soil that, and muck technically isn't even soil, it's basically all organic matter, which is hence why it's hard to get residuals to work on it. So yeah. Where did I leave off? Yeah, generally you got to apply such high concentrations of residual to try to make it work in one pass on muck that you end up basically killing or stunning the crop you're trying to protect. So, but anyway, the other thing that's going on that's not on this list is Axilo, or however the hell you pronounce that, Axilo, Axilo. Whatever. This is a manganese supplement. Goes on at, they recommend a ½ pound to a pound an acre. Basically, he gave me a 20-pound bag, and I'm just going to stretch it over the 23 acres I'm going to spray. So the way it works out, it's like 0.83. It's 0.83333333 pounds, because I figured it for 24, and I'll mix a little extra on my last load, and whatever I don't have, I'll go to that little 2-acre piece that I have the ragweed problem on, and I clean the tank out. But so I already measured out for my 2 loads, so this guy is going in the first load, and then this little 4-pound bag is going in the second load. So that's all measured out, good to go. All we gotta do is measure that stuff out, put it in the tank. This manganese has got to go in first because it has to be fully into solution and dissolved. So basically I'm gonna, whereas before I'd put about 150 gallon in it, this time for the little teeny tiny bit of chemical I'm putting in, and basically I've only got to add 128 ounces in a gallon. So you're basically at 2. So a gallon and a half, or a gallon and a quarter, basically a gallon and a quarter between those two. I'm basically putting in like 5 gallon of product. So, yeah, so in order to get that to dissolve better, I'm basically going to fill the tank all the way up on the first shot and dump all my stuff in. So, and take this guy with me, because we're going to obviously fill back up at the field. And the sprayer, I got that cleaned out Sunday morning. And Sunday turned into a bit of a fiasco. I kind of felt bad for Shelly because I told you we had that graduation party to go to, and we took her car. She's got a little Hyundai crossover dealio. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it was her first car that she bought herself, and she got a damn good deal on it, and yada yada yada. And for as much as as far as she drives back and forth to work, it makes sense. But anyway, we were going down to the graduation party, which was down in Michigan City, Indiana, which is about 30 minutes from here. And we get basically to where we got to go, and we're turning on an off ramp, and all of a sudden the car shudders for a second. And it felt like it was like shifting gears and shifted hard or something. And her check engine light started flashing. And generally, flashing check engine light means you got something misfiring, generally. Well, got through with the party, and we're out in the parking lot and started back up, and there's a sitting there listening to it at the in the parking lot, and if you rev it up a little bit, there's a slight knock to it. And I'm like, okay, if you got a cylinder missing, that dead cylinder I mean, sometimes a dead cylinder will cause something that sounds kind of like a rod knock because you got one dead cylinder. Just, it throws the geometry engine off, and it'll sound like a rod knock because you got one cylinder every 4 hits. But it wasn't really loud, and it didn't really get, and you get over a certain RPM, it'd go away. So, okay, we'll get this thing home and get a code reader on it and go from there. So we make it about halfway home, and all of a sudden the quiet knock that you couldn't even really hear in the span of like from here to the neighbor's driveway went from a quiet knock to a very loud and consistent squall. And it's like, oh, this ain't good. And so luckily we were in town, and there was a parking lot, and I had her right away get off the road, and we pulled in this parking lot, and ended up calling my buddy Ron, and he came over with they got a car trailer with a winch on it, so he winched it up on the trailer and brought it home and got a code reader on it, and it was throwing off a code for the engine knock, or the crankshaft knock sensor, which is supposed to indicate excessive bearing play, which told me that she had a rod knocking, and when the rod knock went from a knock to a squall, that was a bearing trying to grab the crankshaft because it was starting to spin. So basically her car spun a bearing. It's only 2017, but supposedly she took it up to the dealer, and supposedly they got a recall on the motor. So hopefully it's covered under a factory warranty, and they just drop a new motor in it. And it's one of them deals, do you drop a new motor in it and it's been a problem child, so do you drop a motor in it and do you pedal it and get something better or different? Because she could honestly use a half-ton pickup truck for what she does, but the driving back and forth thing, I don't know. Plus, you can't really find a decent truck right now, so do you put an engine in it and just keep driving it till it dies, or till, you know, run the wheels off of it, or do you pedal it so that you're done with using it? I don't know. It's one of them deals, the way even the used market is right now, it's one of them deals that there's really no good answer. So that was how Sunday turned out. So I didn't really get a whole lot done past getting the sprayer cleaned out. So, but anyway, you probably don't care about any of that bullshit. So let's get this old girl filled up here. Well, dang. Tell you what, I love this little motor. It just runs so good. They don't make them like that anymore. Now anything that small is just built to be a throwaway engine. Of course, I say anything that small, like the damn motor in her car, that's built to be a throwaway engine. You don't overhaul anything smaller than a V8 anymore. And even that, you don't really overhaul a V8 anymore. They're just, if something goes wrong, they're meant to take it out, throw it away, slap a new one in. Such is the throwaway world we live in. Of course, if they were meant to be overhauled, there ain't nobody anymore knows how to overhaul an engine. And if there were people that knew how to overhaul an engine, there aren't no machine shops to get any machine work done. So what do you do? Oh, I bet I ran out of gas. Did I run out of gas? Oh yeah, she's dry as a bone. All right, we'll be back. Okay, I got her loaded up, and I'm obviously down here. I'm gonna let that agitate for just a second more. I mean, it should be plenty stirred up from the ride down here, but tell you what, this ragweed in this field is something else. That's just, when did I spread urea down here? Last Thursday? Last Wednesday. This is Tuesday. It was last Wednesday or last Thursday, so I'm not even at 7 days yet. And most of this stuff was like at like a cotyledon stage, and now it's easily, you know, 4 inches, 5 inches tall. But it's only in like the first 48 rows on this side, and then some of the rows over there, like from where the field wraps around the back of the yard, like the first 24 rows over there, and then the whole back of the field is clean. That's the way it's been. Well, when I first got it, it was a mess. There was more than just ragweed out here. There was ragweed, there was hemp dogbane, there was water hemp, there was some palmer amaranth, and it was kind of a smorgasbord down here. But now I pretty much got it narrowed down to just this ragweed. But that Amazon is gonna smoke this shit, especially since it's so small. And the corn looks awesome. Compare it to like the neighbors, and you see his is a little darker. The manganese should take care of that. It's got a little bit. Let me see if I can find a good one. Like on that leaf there, you see that kind of lighter stripe right there and right there. That's kind of a sign of manganese deficiency. How we doing on that? I'll be damned, there's still moisture in there. Get down about, I don't know, depth of your finger or so. I figured it'd be drier than that. They're irrigating. I don't know if you can see it running. I don't know if you can see the end gun of the pivot. They're irrigating across the road in that big field. But the difference between over on this side of the road and that side of the road is that side of the road's all grid tiled. This side of the road, there's no tile in any of this that I know of. I know there's no tile in this, and there's no tile. Well, I know there's no tile from here down to the tree line where on the other side where I farm. I don't know. I don't think there's any tile in that one. I actually, the guy I work for samples for these guys, and actually sampled that field. I sampled, there was 150 acre or 125 acre square over there. I sampled the big field over there that's like 400 something acres. I sampled like 2,200, 2,300 acres down here. I sampled the other side of the ditch. There's a couple fields on the next road over I did. That was a long week. And it was all chisel plowed, all of it. That was rough. That made your kidneys hurt. Anyway, I'm thinking she's agitated enough, so I'm gonna get this tank sprayed out. I'm starting, normally I'd start in that field and work my way back toward the road I gotta go to, but Grandma's field is actually really damn clean. It's got some ragweed scattered. It's not like a carpet like this one is. And it's got some yellow nutsedge in it. So I'm starting in this field, that way it gets full concentration. That way if I end up adding a little bit too much water or something and it ends up being a slightly more diluted solution that I spray down there, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't got to do the amount of work you got to get done down here. So anyway, let's get after it. Okay, other field's done. Just got off the phone with Dad, told him in about 10 minutes to head this way. So I also think I figured out another reason why this corn's a little yellow. Apparently I had 2/10 of rain Saturday night. Not a lot, but I'll take what I can get. Apparently they didn't get it down here because you can still see little speckles of urea through here, so that never got pushed into the ground. So that's another reason why this might be a little on the yellower side. But this manganese ought to help a lot. That should at least green it up. So anyway. That makes me feel good. This is what I wish I could have got done last year, but this time last year we went from dry to all of a sudden we couldn't string 2 dry, calm days in a row, and it got hot and it got wet, which is 2 things that makes corn grow like a bat out of hell. And before I knew it, the corn went from about this tall to taller than the hood on the tractor, and I couldn't get back over to spray it a second time. So, but such is life. Like, we still ended up with a decent crop last year. Hopefully we end up with a decent crop this year. So, and I did good mixing that last tank, because I've only got about, I'm gonna guess about 5 gallon left. It's right Well, it's low enough, it's not even in the sight gate. It's like right level. It might not even be 5 gallon in there. So I don't even know if I'm gonna waste time running into town to hit that little field. I might just well, I should go look at it and see if there's any more ragweed coming back, because if there is, I'll mix up a little bit more, because I got enough chemical. I might mix up a little bit more and go over that with a second pass to smoke any ragweed that might have come back in. But I will assess the situation and go make a decision. I'll swing by on the way home tonight and take a look at it and go from there. So anyway, I'm hungry and Shelly's got hamburger thawed out, so I think I'm gonna go home and make me some dinner. So that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one.